Hello friends, welcome back to the Florida road trip Mystery Knit Along. We are finally going to put some pieces together. Over the past 6 legs you have worked 2 separate pieces, and in leg 7 we're going to start by joining them. So as you can see, I have taken my 2 swatches and I have moved them onto the same cable needle. I still have my edge markers. I'm guessing you may not have your edge markers, and really we only need the one in each piece on the outside edge. So as you put your pieces on, it doesn't matter what order they go in. I chose to put, when I did my main shawl, not the swatches, well, I guess the swatches too, I put legs 1, 2, and 3 on the left, and legs 5 and 6 technically, because I had 4 over here, on my right, but you can do it however you want. So once you get them on, we're going to start with what is essentially a double wide beaded border or beaded divider. And I am going to go ahead and knit across most of this first panel, and then I'll be back with you to show you how we're going to join them. Okay, so here we are. I have knit most of the way across, and I'm going to continue to go until 1 stitch before the end of that first panel. And all I am going to do is knit 2 together. That is the last stitch of the first panel and the first stitch of the second panel. I am going to knit 2 together. And because this was kind of a loose end, I'm going to tug that up. When you sew that in, when you weave in ends, you can use that to tighten up this join a little bit if you want. The other thing I'm going to do while I'm here is I am going to place a locking stitch marker on that stitch, because that is going to mark our center point. So make sure you have a locking stitch marker to put in there. And now I'm going to continue and knit across the rest of the row, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this extra edge marker because this is no longer an edge. So we'll get rid of that. All right, I'm going to finish knitting this row, and I'm going to work my way back across until we get to the center point, and I'll be back. Okay, I have worked my way across the wrong side here almost to the center. As you can see, I have 1 stitch before the locking stitch marker. And what I want to show you is that no matter what else you're doing on this row, for the rest of the shawl, no matter what clue, you are going to purl the middle 3 stitches. So that is the stitch before the locking stitch marker, the stitch with the locking stitch marker, and the stitch after the locking stitch marker. So those 3 stitches get purled every wrong side row for the rest of the shawl. And when I come back, I'm going to show you what we do with those 3 stitches on the right side of the shawl. All right, I am back to the middle, this time on the right side of the shawl. And since I did not take the time to move my locking stitch marker on the last row, you can see it's there on the stitch below the row that's live on the needles at the moment. And that's okay for the moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a central double decrease. It's listed in the pattern as slip 2 together, knit 1, pass, slip stitches over. Okay, so we're going to take the tip of the right hand needle and we are going to slip the next 2 stitches. We're going to slip them together at the same time rather than one at a time. Okay, and then we are going to knit the following stitch, and now we are going to pass that slip stitch over, and that decreased one from each side. And now I am going to be careful to move my locking stitch marker. I took it out of the previous stitch that I had done, and I am going to move that into my new center stitch. So that'll make it real easy when I come back on the other side to know where I need to purl those 3 stitches. After a while, you're going to start to see a lovely center line going down, and once you have that really well established, you can forget about the locking stitch marker. But for the first few rows, it definitely helps, maybe even more than a few, to keep things straight, because you really don't want to get off and wonky. This is the center line that's going to run down the back of your shawl. Okay, and it's just starting to form there, and we will definitely see more of it as we continue to progress. Have fun!